We look at your children as liabilities. They're not assets to us, liabilities. Liability, don't care how much you love them, they cost us the same. Liabilities, we don't like them. We don't want your liabilities. We don't want to put, because think about it. Let's say you and I are married, right? You married an old guy, right? You have my son. Every dollar I make, I got to split 50 cents with that man's kid. Why do I, as an alpha male, high value man, whatever, want to be putting my hard earned resources into that mother sucker's kid and
Okay.
taking from my child?
So there you were listening to the wise words of Kevin Samuels. Rest in peace. He actually passed away recently, and he used to give advice primarily to men and women in the Black community in the US. But actually, I interestingly see a lot of overlap with the dating dynamics in Eastern Europe, because the Black community in the US has a high rate of single mothers, just like in Eastern Europe. There is a very high instance of single moms. And on top of that, high socioeconomic Black men in the US are more of a rarity than the average in the US. And just like here, since the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of communism, that transition, a very painful transition to capitalism here in the 1990s into the 2000s, that high socioeconomic value men have been in short supply also in Eastern Europe. So in countries like Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Moldova, and other countries in the region. So I'm going to react to a couple of clips from Kevin Samuels and explain why high value men in general, and in particular in Eastern Europe, don't date 30-year-old plus single moms. Поехали!
SAR Experience.
I need you to understand, you want a high value man to be a stepdaddy? Sierra got y'all confused.
Yeah. I mean, my son's father is a great man. And
It doesn't matter. The kind of man you're talking about can go get a 25-year-old version of you without a kid. That's why I'm like, I think you ladies need to realize when you have children, high value is pretty much off the table, especially in today's dating environment.
That is the key message, that high value men, the guys who are the top of the food chain, who have the high socioeconomic status, they can have the 25-year-old, actually in fact the 20-year-old version without a child, like the woman who's speaking. There was actually, I think, quite attractive. She's 30, has one child, I think she said was 10 years of age, and that is the reality. Now, the solution to that, for say a woman like this, is either to make big compromises and take a guy who's lower value or share the guy who's higher value, or it's to look outside of her normal dating pool. So if she were focusing exclusively on Black men in the US, then obviously opening up that search and being interested in other ethnicities in the US or another country maybe, then she could widen her pool and actually have a better chance. And that's kind of, I guess, the gap that the Ukrainian Bride business was providing for the women in her situation. Maybe an attractive, above average looking 30-year-old plus single mom in Ukraine. The high value guys, when I say high value, I mean high value on the dating market in terms of like the demand for them. Those guys in Ukraine, they can basically have a 20-year-old hottie without kids, so not going to be looking most likely at a 30-year-old. But of course, if they decide that they're open to dating foreigners, then that would expand their options, and they will be able to, I guess, use their beauty as an arbitrage and get a higher socioeconomic status guy from abroad. And when things were different, like say the 1990s, 2000s, when travel was different, difficult, information was limited, communication was hard, travel like was extremely hard for Ukrainians, then this Ukrainian bride business kind of provided a nexus between the guys in the West and Ukrainians here, like in particular the single moms. Nowadays, of course, with Ukraine, I'm speaking to you from Lviv, lovely Lviv. It's early January 2023. They now have the possibility, because of the war, most of the single women left Ukraine. They're still abroad, mainly in the European Union, but also in the US. I think there's almost 100,000 now Ukrainians there. So obviously they don't need. I have some other videos about why the Ukrainian bride business is dead. I'll link them up down below. But for high status men, taking on another man's child is a liability. So it's just something that's very unattractive for the high value man.
Unless you're going after a man who's in his late 40s, 50s.
Mid 40s, early 40s.
Late 40s, 50s. Because those are the guys who tend to be like, fine. Yeah, we're like, whatever. But if you mid 40, I mean, you're talking about income. A guy doesn't hit his financial stride till 45 to 55. So depending upon the kind of income you're talking about, he has to have time to get there.
Exactly. That tends to be what I've observed also with my clients over the years, is the high value guys who come to me who are under 45. I've never seen them date a single mom in their 30s. I have to really think hard. Have I ever had one? I really don't think so. But the guys who are, say, over 45, who I've had, some of them have even married, in fact, single moms. I had one who was with me a few years ago in Minsk in Belarus, and that was quite interesting because what I found is the few clients I had who were above 45 and did actually marry women who were, we'll say, older. Some of them married women without children who were over 30 or dated them long term, and some of them married the single moms who were over 30. It was because they already had children from a previous marriage and they actually weren't interested in having any more. So in that case, it's actually better for them to be with a woman, the new woman, who already has children, because then naturally, if she didn't have the children, then naturally she would still want to have children. And that might be, if you're a guy and you're in your late 40s, early 50s, mid 50s, and you have children already and you don't want to have any more, then realistically, you probably, especially here in Eastern Europe, you'd want to have a woman who already has at least one child. Otherwise, she's going to have that natural biological urge to have children. That's going to be a clash between you. So for those kind of guys, it can definitely work. Or as they get older, well, a single mom who's 30, like that woman in the clip with Kevin Samuels, who's quite attractive. For some guys, that's a compromise worth making. They're willing to take on the liability of her child by another man and invest the resources into offspring that are not their biological offspring, because they see it as a good enough trade-off, shall we say. And I see that it's interesting. The clients who I had who were up to 45 and they could still date the hottest of the hot, say in Kiev. It changes in general what I see with both clients and friends when guys get, you can be a top guy, we're talking about charismatic, tall, wealthy, good looking, in shape, connected, have the social circle. And basically there's no real maximum age gap that's possible. Over 18, of course. Up until around 50, from what I've seen. I know a lot of guys who are, we'll say they're from Western Europe and from North America, who spend a lot of time here in Ukraine over the years, who fit that. And they tell me that, when they were 50, they could still date the 19, 20-year-old model. But when they got to like 55, that became a lot harder. They started to date women who were saying their mid to late 20s, maybe without a child, but still in that age group. And then presumably as they get older, they would then increase that. And that's just human biology and how the dating dynamics work. In general, men hit their peak between 35 and 45 in terms of their market value when they're dating. And women hit their peak between 20 and 25 in general. This is a generalization, not exactly that range for everybody, but that's the general trend. So as a guy, while you know, we, especially on these dating gurus, especially these dating gurus, they like to talk about the wall, undefeated for women, that when women hit 30, their SMV, or sexual marketplace value, starts to drop as they lose the signs of fertility. They never really talk about what happens for men. Men, it's not as dramatic, but it also does start to happen once you get over that 45 in general, over 50 and upwards. So that's kind of the trend I've seen as well. So that's pretty observant. Yeah, by Kevin Samuels. Pity he passed away. So if you're a high value guy and you're looking to expand your dating options, like maybe those Black American women should have been looking at by going maybe outside of their very local ethnic group, or what the Ukrainian women were doing by joining the marriage age and trying to meet foreigners, you should be doing the same. You should be thinking about, where are my best options going to be? Because if you're finding that, well, you're frustrated with your dating options back home, then believe me, Eastern Europe in general is going to give you an absolute plethora of expanded dating options, because this is the region where, on average, in my experience, having traveled all over the world, you'll find the highest concentration of beautiful women. And that is what us guys are primarily attracted to biologically. That's just the way it is, in the same way that, well, high value men in general, as I pointed out, they have enough options that they are going to date, in general, the women who are under 30 and don't have kids by other men. That's just how we decide to invest our resources. Привет. Nice dog there. So, if you are up for having an unforgettable weekend to kick you off here in Eastern Europe, then what are you doing next weekend? It could be you with me. We will not be in Lviv though, because I'm filming this in January 2023 and the Russo-Ukrainian war is still ongoing. So at the moment I'm not going to Russia, Belarus, or here in Ukraine with clients. But don't fear, we have several amazing options. And I've been traveling and filming in those for about the last, must be about 5 months. Been with a few clients to Moldova, to Chisinau, and also to Almaty in Kazakhstan. And I'm actually just about to leave here and go to Riga in Latvia. So there are a few of the options for us to go and live the Zara experience in. Down below in the description to the video is the application form and some more information about it. And first of all, go and check out my playlist. I think it's actually on this side. But before you do that, go and check out the playlist. It should be up there on a card, again down below in the description. And you get a better idea of what the Zara experience entails. So that is the end of the video. If you're not interested in the Zara experience, then drop me a comment down below and let me know what you think about the main thesis of this video, the main point, that high value men basically don't date single moms in their 30s, probably in most places, but definitely here in Eastern Europe, simply because they don't have to. They have what they consider better options in terms of dating. So value as opposed to values. I'll leave you on that point and see you in the next video. Do побачення. Bye-bye from Lviv, Ukraine.
Zara Experience.